So you've said your early years here, growing up here, influenced your art, and we just described you as a painter, a printmaker, a sculptor, and a public artist. How would you describe your art and how Lewiston influenced that?
I don't think it influenced my art like I found a vision here. I didn't start painting factories. What it gave me, what I learned here was a work ethic and a commitment to dream. My family were dreamers. They came down those rivers to work here to make a better life, a better community, a better town. And I lived in the tenement with aunts and uncles who worked in shoe shops and mills and factories. And they were all aspirational. Their work ethic was their idea of like, and when they saw me draw, that became a manifestation of something wonderful. I was the first of both sides, anybody in the family at that time, who got accepted into college because I played football. So that was a big deal. And I'll tell a little story.
Absolutely, okay, that's why we're here.
So I decided I didn't want to go to college. I was going to go to California and collect sea cucumbers. I'd read Cannery Row. So I wanted to be like, hang out with the paisanos and be really cool. And I figured I could go to Monterey. So my dad got a map and showed me how to get there. And I was going to hitchhike with my buddy Pete. So in the meantime, they said I didn't have any money, and I was living in Southern Maryland at the time. So they got me a job at a mill in Brunswick for the summer. Mm-hmm. So I was going to make enough money there. So I started working in the summer at the mill, and it's a shoe shop, and I had the most boring job in the world, putting rivets on the end of ladies' shoes. I got a trillion of them all day long. And I used to go over and see my aunt, Madeline. I loved her. And she'd be smoking a cigarette, have a boot in her arm spraying with lacquer, but she had the window open. And she'd go, Charlie, I haven't got time to talk to you. I'm busy, I'm working. I go see Uncle Raj. He goes, Charlie, I ain't got time for you. They made me feel closed in. I went, this is hard work. I never had enough money to get to Thursday. I fled to college. I didn't even know that they had this whole, not till I went to my Aunt Madeline's funeral. I looked at her and I went, you guys set me up. That's what I mean by family commitment. They said, okay, we'll teach you what it's like out here in the world. Yeah, get a job at a shoe shop. You want to do that? Yeah, it's there for you. And it's not a bad thing. It's not dishonorable. It didn't mean anything except making a living. If you want that life, if you got another choice, take it. Mm-hmm. So does that explain that? Help?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think if I'd have been a plumber, I would have carried that nature, that dreaming, that creativity into it, because I don't think of myself different than a plumber.
Yeah.
I find myself, I have a work ethic and I'm kind of a studio artist.
Yeah. So why hopeful? What is it about that word that means so much to you? And as we have now seen in these last many years, has become to mean so much to other people?
It's such a big question because, I actually had a life before hopeful. So I kind of think back, like there was a time, the thing, it's a lot of trouble. It's hard being the hopeful guy. Because you gotta keep it up, And like I don't want to get hot mic moment. It was like, so I got this. So I'll tell you what's going on. To paint a picture of the mood I was in at the time. It was last post horrifying election. I found myself living in a mindset that I didn't understand what was going on. Why is this happening? I woke up one day and realized half my country didn't like me. It hurt my feelings. I felt like I've spent my whole life voting and marching on Washington and doing the right thing, and it was upside down. It was upside down. So, I was lonely, and I was kind of looking for some ballast, some emotional ballast. Then I was asked if I would put a piece of sculpture on top of a roof of a building. And I have no shortage of ego. When I saw that spot, I went. And I also had the good fortune of having spent some time here in Lewiston working on some neon work with a guy named Pat Bulldog at Neocraft Signs. And I was walking through the factory, the Neocraft factory, to go do the neon work. And I was going, my God, I didn't know this is available. I didn't know you could I love marquee signs. I didn't know that was available to me. And I went, gosh, I could actually do this. So what happens is I get asked, then I know what I want to put up. I want to put up light. It's a dark state. I want that message. I love the marquee sign that was very important to me because in my sadness, I'll call it loneliness for my country, for my participation. I remember the time in the 50s and 60s when everybody traveled everywhere. We went everywhere. We used to put bumper stickers on every state we went to. I mean, people they even went to Idaho. I mean, they went everywhere. And that stickers were everywhere, and they celebrated this country. They celebrated its culture, its food. We weren't frightened of each other. We kind of were curious. It felt big. And I would travel with my dad and see these signs inviting me to eat fried chicken, swim in the pools, and all these signs with arrows and blinking lights that people would invest their monies in to make a statement. They were proud of their new entrepreneurship. I love that time. So I said, okay, marquee sign's perfect. I got that. What am I going to say? That's what's in Matthew. In the beginning is the Word, and the Word is hopeful.
Yeah, hope.
In my case.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to take something that this intellectual, liberal, overreading, NPR guy's got to shake loose. I'm going to take something really simple and challenge myself. I said, why don't we just take hopeful and make it 25 foot tall and put it on that building? If it doesn't work, I wouldn't be sitting here. And I'll be damned if it didn't go.
Yeah.
It was that simple. It's been called mawkish. It's a little simplistic. But I said to myself, and I mean this so much, the solutions to our problems are not going to be done by clinics, by groups, by studies. It's going to be done one-on-one, on a molecular level, in a community level, beginning that way, feeling, emotionally attaching ourselves to things. So I said, if somebody would have said, I want you to put a sign in front of the Metropolitan Museum, I'd have probably come up with a big word.
You would have to, yes.
Trying to be really smart.
Yeah.
This was just simply a pat on the back, a handshake, a hug, a silent prayer. Let's just go with it.
But it's become like beautiful activism, not edgy activism, but really beautiful activism that people enjoy, like alone, they drive by. I mean, I was in Bangor recently and I came around the corner and I saw that sign way up high and I was like, wow, it just makes the city so much prettier.
I do it. I say to my wife, let's go drive by to see that hopeful sign. I really do. Holy shit. I'll tell you what I did, but my wife used to work for the Times. She had a friend who who does advertising. She does the Times Square billboards. So I said, call Lisa and see if she'll find me a billboard. So sure enough, we found a billboard at the exit to the Lincoln Tunnel. I mean, this thing is big. And so sure enough, I said, let's just do it. We put it up. And it was like, holy shit. I mean, buses were honking. It was like a landscape. It just said hopeful. Yeah. And I said, the ubiquity of it, so what's great? Now, these big ones are made by men with hard hats and cigars and cranes and pulleys. It can also go up on a billboard. I found that I put it in Philadelphia with the Ukraine flags. I put it in the Sunset Park, Queens after a shooting in the subways. I put it in the Bronx where there was some homeless situation. So it has an ubiquity to it that can move around. It's the word itself doesn't have to be sculptural. It's just the word. Some people get moved just by a pin, a bumper sticker. Yeah. So it's really amazing.
So that we've seen the hopeful signs go up in towns and in cities where something tragic or sad has happened. A lot of them went up during the COVID years. In Maryland, I think there was one that went up in the COVID years. Yeah. You gave one to CMMC after the shooting here, 2023. You sent one to Ukraine, and now Hallowell is the latest installment in honor of, well, not honor, but in recognition of the damage from the flood. So is that part of the healing, the hopeful healing, where do towns have to go through some kind of turmoil to be chosen?
We will anyway, won't we? Because we're human beings, things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk Lewiston. What happened to Lewiston was the fact that the community of the whole state, the nation, reached out. Yeah. And that's the connector. That's the cinch, that weave that gets rent apart with all our kind of anger and our fear of each other. Those things, fabrics fray, and things can pull it together. And I think the cinching up of people's care and feelings for each other. So hopeful's turned into a thread in that fabric, something in the weave. It's an old flag now. It's only 5 years old. And it's been through 2 national elections, the COVID, the horrible events happen here in Lewiston. It's in the Ukraine. It's happened in people's lives in unspeakable ways that they happen in their own daily drama. And they gravitate towards that sign, and they'll send me a message. And it's humbling to find that it doesn't take much to care. It doesn't really take a lot more than just, I see you.
Do you hear from a lot of people with their personal stories?
Oh yeah, quite often. Sometimes it's, yeah. I'm a good-natured soul. I mean, I get life and I like it. Sometimes it's overwhelming for me because I'm a studio artist. I really paint all day by myself. I work out relationships to orange and greens and stuff. This has changed my life. This has jumped me out of another space. But I'm so happy to have the range of, the size of my community means a lot to me.
Yeah.
The friends I've made.
Yeah. I live in Auburn, so I come over the Longley Bridge when I come into Lewiston, and it's the only time I'm happy to sit in traffic because I can see the sign,
Is that right?
you know? And on some days it means different things to me, and I look around at the other people in cars and I wonder, why aren't you looking at that sign? It means everything.
Yeah, but you know, it's kind of nice that it's just there.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's just lit up in Rumford right now.
Yeah.
Just the fact that it's there. Sometimes it's like living with somebody you love. It's just, sometimes I see you across the room and you're acknowledged by it. It's just being there. It's just the light of it, the there.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot. I don't want it to, and then somebody will drive by and they'll text me and say, I was on my way to a drink and I decided to go to a meeting.
Oh, wow.
I mean, things like happen a lot. I was in town with my son, and I'm from Bangor, and I shouldn't be in Portland with my son. The only reason we go to there is because of the hospitals. I saw the sign.
That's really touching that people react in their own personal ways and ways that you may never even learn about, and it's changing people's lives.
Yeah, and that's, for me as an artist, that's really compelling.
Yeah.
But as an artist activist, it really makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Because I've always voted. I mean, I've always been political. I've always donated. But I've never had this relationship I have to a community now. It's stunning.
Yeah.
Because I have kept myself neutral with it, non-political. I don't make a bias out of it. I just say we're all entitled to that message. Yeah.
So there's a lot of logistics involved. There's the fabrication, there's the planning, there's the invitations. Have there been challenges along the way to this, or has it all been very uplifting for you?
Let's see. No, it's been kind of fun. I mean, there's money involved, so that's always a problem.
Yeah, of course.
So that requires an ask. And I try to keep myself from the ask. So there's always people in the community willing to do that. And they stretch, and by asking, people participate and feel closer to it. Sometimes it's a gift because it has to be. But sometimes the building department said it's a sign and you can't put it up. And I've learned the most important thing I've learned is never, ever overlook anybody's concern. I go to every one of the meetings, and I don't say things like, well, mister, white men on a horse is the old statue. There's a new image for statues. I say, no, let's talk about it. And I found in the 2 communities, and one was in Maryland, it almost didn't happen. By going and speaking to the city council and talking about it straight up, I get advocates for it. Rather than, so I've been trying to actually take that attitude with hopeful when I go to public meetings, because I can be scurrilous too. I like being a little going up and telling people things, but I won't do it with this.
Yeah.
Because I was told by, but somebody told me, don't do that, Charlie.
Yeah.
It doesn't deserve that.
Yeah.
That kind of way. So communities have needs that we've met before, and you have plumbing, electrical inspections. So I go through those, but I work with an amazing company called Neocraft Signs. And the important thing to know, this is made in Lewiston. All that energy, all that light that's going on is made by these fine, wonderful people at that shop. And they're dear, they're friends. We have something special for me is forged in that community. I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I wanted to celebrate them.
Yeah. Well, they love this community too, everybody at that company. So so you design the piece and they do the fabrication.
Yeah.
And then who does the installation?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it goes on poles, sometimes it goes on walls, sometimes roofs. So each one has its own problem, right? Some, like this is 30 feet here in Lewiston. I mean, you could put a 30-foot one in Bath and eat the town up. So, and I wanted to. And I wanted to put a 25-footer in Ellsworth, but we crunched it to 16, 14. It makes sense. A 10-footer. So every town has its unique space for it, just the right place. And I think of them all as Main Street signs, right, where people see them on the street now.
So this is a reader question we received in advance of tonight, but this reader wants to know what inspires you now that didn't early in your career?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? I mean, I'm having the time of my life as an artist. I paint every day. I go to the studio and paint every day in the Western European tradition I was trained in. And that studio is full of ghosts. It's got Picasso, every painter's ever lived. They're telling me stories and telling me how to do things right. And no matter what I do, it always looks like somebody's art somewhere down the line. But I'm okay with it. I love to paint. I love it, narrative. But I've gotten involved now, because of the lights, I've gotten involved with, I bought a greenhouse, 6,000 square foot, and I'm filling it up with doodle art.
Okay, I heard you were a doodler.
I'm a doodler.
Yes.
I'm the Picasso of doodlers. I really am. I've got 22 years of those calendars, with doodles everywhere. I mean, see, and they've never, this is really kind of how that stretched from that to, this doesn't belong in my painting studio. They don't get along. This is too shiny for them. The painting studio is full of authority, so you have to come in there with an MFA to understand it. I try to make it better than that. But when you go to my doodle stuff, I'll take a drawing, the Ukraine War. I drew a car and on fire. And I sent it out, it came back as a big neon piece, electric piece. I love it, that's so cool. I do words, I say things. My newest piece this is just too fucking weird.
Okay.
So it's all in words, it's not gonna go on a wall. I found myself making fun of my own training and finding that the further I get away from the seriousness of my work, the happier I am and the bigger my community. And there's another phenomenon that's going on. It's called high-low in art. High art is like the things in the big gold frames at the museums. That's high, right? With big things. And with a lot of authority and don't touch and all that stuff. Low is like a piece in Lewiston. It's like you don't have to have a degree to understand it. You just get it.
Yeah.
I like playing two sides of this. This is not a museum piece, but it's in the Bronx Museum thanks to my friend Dana. But it's in the Algonquin Museum. They're looking around this, but it belongs to the community. It reads so much better here than it does in a cage in a museum, in a box. It's shared.
Yeah.
That's the word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shared.
Yeah. I remember when those two office buildings on Lisbon Street burned down, and then you put up a rattle there on Lisbon Street,
right.
and people didn't really know what it was or why it was there. But then 2 or 3 years later, when it was moved to make way for construction of the new apartment building, people were like, no, it's got to stay. You got to figure out how to incorporate that
right?
because they were going to miss it on Lisbon Street.
that's nice
So
to hear.
yeah, really became part of the scenery.
Well, public art's a problem, because if a tree's better than the piece, you're in trouble, because you can't shove it down people's throats. And you can't take people's money, public money, so you get sponsorship. But I like it when people talk about something. Mm-hmm. So I put it up with Tom Platz and the arts people, just so we'd have something to talk about. So you drive down Lisbon and say, what the hell's that? Well, I don't like it. You're entitled to say that. We're talking now,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to say that. You don't have to say my politics are terrible and my grandmother's an awful person. You just talk about art.
Yeah.
And the hopeful gets in a little bit of trouble. A couple of people don't like it. Nobody's shot it up yet, so it's kind of sitting there okay. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you said, you're more than the hopeful guy. You've had like 20 public collections, including in the Met and here at Bates College. You've done nearly 50 solo exhibitions, also here at Bates. Do you want to talk about some of your other art? We talked earlier about the Muhammad Ali statue that you're working on for Lewiston.
Well, that, so let's look at it this way. I had decided at one point, I'll try to be quick. I came back from 42 years in New York City, returned to Maine, raised a family, and I didn't know I lived in a tough town. I didn't even know Lewiston was a problem. So I started hearing from, Southern Maine, Southern Maine's carpeted. They got it all covered, and they don't understand these river towns. And I didn't like that, what they were saying. And then the fires started happening in the factories. And somebody said to me, the nerve, I never forget, what are your people doing up there? Oh, well, I'd be damn, huh? How about that comment? So I started driving up. And I would go up when a fire would happen, and I'd go sit on the stoop across from the building one time. I'm sitting there with this gentleman who's got smoking a cigarette. His hands are gnarly. He's probably 20 years younger than me and looks older, and he's put a life in. We're trying to talk about what's going on. So I started thinking, there's about the treasure I felt, the joy I feel in this community. And if I said to myself, if I deglobalize this community, what's here? What's on the street? What shiny things that other people overlooked? And I said, I'll do something. I'll put up a piece of sculpture like I put up in the High Line. I'll start with a public piece. That's me. And then there's Marsden Hartley. And Marsden Hartley wrote a great book called Androscoggin, Book of Poetry. So I reprinted the book and illustrated it. So I did my Hartley book. These are small things, but I'm doing for myself. And then Muhammad Ali fought here. At that point, 50 years ago. So I said, I'm going to make a movie about Muhammad Ali's fight. And we did it in 3 months because it had to be told. A major civil rights event happened here in this town that just has to be told and retold and retold. Because, in truth, the spirit of that is the spirit of Lewiston. These young, courageous men who are boxing their way out of trauma, racial trauma, like this racial trauma my grandparents felt when the KKK burned a cross here and told them they weren't welcome, that they were other, that you can't go away, you can't get out of here, you got to stay. So this great story here. So I said, that's another great story. The third story is I come up with New York Craft Sign, I become Charlie Hewitt. Who would have thought? What a crazy journey this is. And part of me resents that because I worked awfully hard. The New York Times calls me up after I put that big billboard up down there. I get a call from the New York Times and I go, look, I've been painting 54 years in my studio and the European tradition being very distant. How can you never call me before? And he goes, get over it, Charlie. You got to have an angle these days. I said, well, at least I got one, let me tell you now. So.
So talk a little bit about art as transforming communities. And one of the questions we got from our readers is the power of the art to do that and then to bring more art and more festivals and just more attention and culture, how it just builds on itself.
It's so problematic because I actually produced a theater program for 8 years in Maryland. So theater was the best way I found to bring community together, tell story, and to have people work and involved. Art, it's collective, and it's collaborative. And it's like I was saying earlier, it's reading the room. For example, reading the room means this is a major event's going to happen May 25th of this year. We're installing a 14-foot on-base sculpture of Muhammad Ali by a renowned American sculptor, Zenos Fredakis. And it's going to be of a 23-year-old boy who came here to become, he was Cassius Clay. He fought here as Muhammad Ali. And that is going to represent the spirit of this community. The discipline, the strength, the resilience. Because Ali, he didn't win every round. Like this town, nobody wins every round. But he got up and fought every round. Every round he got up and fought. And because of that, and the resilience this town has, I think, to that nature, became arguably the best athlete of the 20th century. So I think I'm going to be presenting, along with Tom Platts, a bronze monumental sculpture of a black African-American Muslim to represent the spirit of a community. How about that?
Which is fitting in this day and age. Yeah.
And that's modern art.
Yeah.
That's modern thinking. That's the way we have to start looking at everything. All our problems, everything going on, is because we're thinking in old paradigms. The paradigm is broken. We can lament it, we can clutch our pearls, we can run to the other side of the room, it's over. The new paradigm of everything. And even the pose for the Ali sculpture is not the lifer, get up and fight you. How can a white guy ask a white sculptor to make a sculpture of a black man telling a black man to get up off the ground? That's pathetic. Because we got to understand that culture's tired of working for us. The black athlete, the black musician, always have to be struggling, straining, fighting. The only place we ever see him never sleeping, never resting. So Lewiston's Ali has his arms down. He's 23. He's handsome. He's got it in his eye. You know you don't want to mess with him in 2 seconds. This is the Ali before he became Ali. And that's Lewiston's Ali. Not the screaming competitor. This threat. This thing that can take care of itself. It's poise. Yeah, that's a lesson to me. So I've been learning through this process of the sculpture. So all this is art to me. This is why I love being an artist, because I confront problems. I really, when we raised the money, Tom Platts did that, and I thought I should do the Neil Leifer one, because everybody knows it. You know which one I'm talking about? The Ali with his fist. It's ubiquitous. It's pop art. We're not pop art anymore. Like I said, everything's crushed and got to be done again. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of happy that I feel good about this one.
Yeah. When are you expecting the installation for that?
It's going to be installed May 25th of this year.
Oh, this year. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. It's in the foundry being cast right now. Jesus. We've got to get some, I got to get some energy. Anybody knows anybody who knows anybody, we need some help with publicity. It's a great project. It's going to be a spectacular opening. We got this, I'm making a movie about it, following up on the movie we made. So, and we have a sports commentator named Dan Patrick. Some of you might know him. He's agreed to do the voice for us. We have access. We just interviewed Larry Merchant. We have music from the period. It's going to be a story about Lewiston, about this young boy who comes here to fight this singular man.
Yeah.
And the fight, the phantom punch. We have and then celebrate the sculpture being raised, because it's called Raising Ali. It's about the piece going up and the story behind it. So I think it's significant for us, all of us, to keep our histories, our stories, more than histories. Because history's going by storytelling.
Yeah.
Storytelling over and over again. Tell Mamea Papea's stories. Talk about the factory stories. Talk about our stories. Talk about the Lisbon Street when all the show, you could hear the French music coming out of the bars. It's all about Saturday afternoons and that kind of rhythm.
That living history pieces. Yeah. So the Hopeful Project is from Maine to Maryland right now. Yeah. Is there hope that you will just keep creeping across the country?
I tell you right now. Well, I'm talking with the National Cathedral now about Hopeful. They want to put it on the building.
On the cathedral?
On the cathedral. But I don't think, I mean, they're excited about it. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we're going to talk soon. So that is amazing. I've got a family foundation. That's what's been missing, the foundation monies. Mm-hmm. Who's interested in putting 3 in D.C. 1 ecumenical, 1 secular, in a neighborhood like Anacostia, and 1 political, where people drive by it. And I don't think it's going to change anybody's mind, but it might elevate some spirit. And it's important to say this, that everybody here has got to understand that this could only be done in Maine. This can only have happened here. This sign was made and incubated for 1.5 years on the roof of that building. Virus came. Then it stayed. It grew into the community. It grew inside of the community. They became spokespersons for it. I mean, my voice was not heard. I wasn't even known. But when it came to pass where I decided to pick up the mantle, after going to New York, I realized I had something. So I took the New York advertising and brought it back here and grew it here. I realized that this is a story everybody wants to be a part of.
Yeah.
And that's gotten easier, a lot more fun. It could go, I just put one in San Francisco at a friend's barn. I just, everybody wants one. We're talking about, I just talked to Eastport today. I'd love to fill Maine first and tell everybody in the nation that we are a lighthouse. We are a beacon.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, we're a dark state of humble means, but we are authentic and real.
Yeah.
And they could take a look at us and maybe heal some of their own problems. Because we see each other here, don't we? We need each other because of these winters. You have to pull over and help each other. We just do that.
Yeah. We did have a reader ask if she could buy a hopeful sign for her house. Do you do that?
Those are hard things. Have her email me.
Okay.
Charlie@charliehewitt.com. I'm not a good businessman, but I negotiate these things. It's turned into a non-profit organization inadvertently. But I do have a profit motive behind some of the pieces, and we try to make them work out. You know, money's not the thing. It's money just lubricates everything. And it's always been annoying to me. But I do pretty well with it. I like money. I like it a lot. So I make some, you know.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool about that. And that's because I've come from Lewiston.
Yeah.
I'll be damned if I'm not going to, if there's a buck to make, I'm going to make it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
So how many signs are there?
Wow, there's so many. I mean, there are 28, 32. There's one on a yacht, privately out. I sell out in New York. There's, libraries, rehab centers. There's 30, 40, 30 of them.
Wow. Yeah. One of our readers wanted to know if there was a pinpoint map of where they all were.
We're talking to the Department of Tourism now of creating a Hopeful Trail. Now, that would be, the reason I love to do this is because of something I just did. I just went on the Hopeful World Tour with my friend David Wolf, the designer of the Hopeful, and Gary Rubin, our film guy. We got in a car, put a rack on the roof and a Hopeful sign, that Hopeful sign with a power pack. We went, it was like a Canadian show, just boys on the road. And we traveled. We started off in Lebanon. We went to Peru, Mexico, Moscow. We went China, Palermo, Paris. God, we drove for 2 days. We drove straight night and day just to get there to film it. So we get to Paris. We take the sign out, put the thing together, put the sign up, go light it up, put it back in the car, and drive to another town. People would honk their horns and talk. It's the silliest thing ever. Like, I'm 78 years old and living like a boy. I'm having the greatest time in my own home state, meeting all these wonderful people in Athens, Maine. Who'd have thought? You know Athens, Maine? That was so cool. We put one on an ice cooler out front of a grocery store, and they were going, "What the hell, man?" It was so good. Because
And this is a movie you're putting together?
yeah, it's going to be a little funny movie. And we're going to finish because we missed Madrid. I was so mad at my guide because we drove by it to get to Moscow because it was dark. And how do you get, it's not Madrid, it's Madrid.
Madrid, yes.
It's like way the hell over there.
Yeah.
And we got to go to Calais, which is not Calais, we got to Calais. So we're going to end it up by going to these towns and mispronouncing it. So it's a fun film. What I'm getting at, there are little treasures all over the place in our lives. Bend over and pick them up. With humor and goodwill and a community spirit, you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Because we can play a lot in this state.
Yeah.
And you got what I was talking about, right? The World Tour, right? That's what I like. And we went to Lynchburg and did in front of the signs, all the arrows going everywhere.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, yeah. So you have been known to say to be hopeful requires action. It requires being part of something bigger than yourself, bigger than ourselves, and we need each other now more than ever. So what can we all do individually and as a collective to maintain hope and take the hopeful action you you hope we will.
Yeah, you know what's required of me? It's required me to listen. Very simply listen. Not clutch my pearls, not throw mashed potatoes at Uncle George. Just listen. Because we're all in this for a reason. Nobody does things just to be mean. There's a reason behind what's going on. And I think we've categorized people, embarrassed people, put them in positions where they're not good enough, created other again. Others are not good to do to each other. We might not like it, but this is America. It's our country, and if we want it, we're going to have to listen to each other. It shouldn't hurt so bad. Just kind of breathe through it. Okay, I look at it this way. All right, the hopeful thing did it to me. I look at it this way. I'm in a ring, and I'm in my corner with my tribe, and we've got all our values and our stories, and I'm throwing rocks at the other corner, at their tribe. And what if I just stood up for a minute and just decided to surrender and walked into the light, into the field, and I asked you to come join me, somebody on the other side. I know there's common ground. I know there is. And that's what we have to take apart. Molecularly, love your family, your community. Invite people over for supper. If the old lady down the street needs a ride, give her a ride. We'll start with kindness. We'll build it stretch stitch by stitch. And we got time. That's the other problem we always think. We don't have any time. It's all over. That's ridiculous thinking. It's not going away. The world's not going to fall apart. We're not going to die of big storms and everything. We just got to live every day and believe we have enough time to get there. We got to tell our kids that their future's bright, their future's full of hope and love, that future is not going to be decided by us now. It's going to be decided by them when they get there. Because that's the truth.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was the end of the world too. I mean, Richard Nixon, holy shit, the world. Wow. What I wouldn't give to get Richard Nixon back. Well, you know what I'm saying? It's just that running on fear and anxiety and nervousness and hanging out with the same people. I love my friends, but God, they're boring. I mean, Jesus, quit talking about it. I mean, they think, are they getting suspicious of me? Because I try to figure things out. So I become the MAGA artist. I don't know really, but just kind of thinking like this. In that pool of energy that's out there, the others, there's a Jackson Pollock, there's a Alice Neal, there's a great musician in that too, because that's where all of our creativity has come from, the populace, the struggle.
Yeah.
The struggle and bring it out. So we have a culture that's struggling. They're telling us that. They're struggling. They want to be heard and seen. They need access to art, to life, to spirit, to joy, to imagination. Epiphany is a good word.
Yeah, it's a good word. And they don't have to go see this. It's in their towns. It's in their home, their hometowns and main streets. So it's.
And like I said, I found a lot of I become Charlie Hewitt because I came to Lewiston to look at fires, and I started picking up shiny things on the street. And
I'm glad you did.
me too.
Well, we are at a point in the evening where we're going to take some audience questions, and Ashley's got a mic here, so if you have a question, raise your hand and she will come to you.
Charlie, I was just wondering, was there any particular reason the colors that you picked? Or you just
They're in my palette range. I as an artist, I kind of taste color. I just got a thing. Like the green has to be apple. I wanted it to be bold, striking, and instead of going white, I started off with, I've done a number of white ones, just white light. That's where I began. At the beginning, being a little nervous about it. And then now that I've gotten color. I'm half French Canadian. I love color. I do. All that white stuff is. So a lot of them are white, but I think that's better color. And,
I was always intrigued by the arrow and the meaning behind the arrow was inspiration and opened up. I interpret it as keeping open. I see the arrow.
Yeah, well, it's an interpretation, it's an abstraction. For me, it was a marquee sign saying, come here to eat, the arrows on marquee signs pointing in directions. So I liked it going back and forward. It was just a play on it. It was a perfect place. This font, I've got to give credit to David Wolf, Wolf Editions. I wrote on a piece of typing paper, hopeful script. He went and found a font from 1960 Cadillac Bel Air. Because, right? And because I wanted to talk about car culture, and I wanted to have a car culture sign, because I wanted to look like marquee signs. So the collaboration with him, so he put all these things together, and I chopped it up, and we came up with this. So this is a great thing about collaborative spirit here, having that gentleman who's with that knowledge about fonts. So car culture, and I love west of the Turnpike's car culture. Those on the ocean side, they're stuck with seagulls, lighthouses, sailboats. They can't get rid of them. We got all this world is art to reconnect to. I mean, the aesthetic of the real Maine has not been tapped yet.
Yep.
It's raw, and it's got power. And that's why I want to be here. And I'll tell you one thing, to be honest with you. When I lit the sign on New Year's Eve on Main Street in Lewiston, there was an 8-year-old boy watching that lighting. And that boy was me. And that boy was fascinated that grown-ups would do something as beautiful as that, as silly as that. Because all we ever did was piece together enough to make it to Thursday. I just said, I hope there's another boy who walks by there and go, wow, that's so cool, I can do that. And it's not always about just getting by. It's doing better than that. It's aspiring.
I do see people stand on the sidewalk or even walk into the lawn to get a real good look at it. Yeah. And it always warms my heart to see that they're really seeing it, and it's not just part of the...
The Ali sculpture is going to be placed to the left of it.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. So that whole mill complex is going to become a campus, a trail tying in with the other trail of sculpture.
Oh.
And art. So it's in place. It's going to happen.
Great. That's great. Yeah.
I was wondering if you, sort of a two-part question. I was wondering if you faced any criticism of any of your displays, people who were critical of the message, because in this day and age, people could read things differently, especially in art. And how have you responded to people who have maybe offered you more criticism than you?
It's been really passive. There's one guy in Hope who really, really, really hates it. So I'm going to put one in Hope.
Dude, I was going to just ask
He's
you
going to
that.
have to
Where's it
drive by
coming?
that on his way to Piggly Wiggly or whatever every morning to get his coffee and see it. So there's definitely going to happen. I had an editor from a paper who called it mawkish and ridiculous, that a word like that could help anybody out. Because our problems are so big, you have to get a thesaurus to figure out how to solve them. No, it's been good. I actually had the epiphany that I said about, I was speaking in Rumford, and a beautiful sign that went up, and I realized that audience out there with their sons and daughters and grandchildren didn't vote the same way I voted. And that didn't mean anything to me, but it stunned me when I came up, when I realized that I woke up one day and I realized half this country didn't understand me or like me. That stunned me. That just stopped me in my tracks. I want to be in this world. I don't want to be on my tribe outside of a line. So, yeah. So it's been great so far.
And the second part of my question was, do you have any advice for young artists who are struggling to find their own message in their art?
Yeah, well, one thing is look in your communities. I mean, that story about me, I was what, 74, 75. I had been so indoctrinated in Western European tradition of making art, exhibitions, and drawing, printmaking, that I came up here and found that I was curious about finding something in the community I loved that could be redefining. So you don't have to go far to find it. But one thing you really have to do is you have to really want it. And you have to think, you have to get smart about your emotions. You don't have to get smart like book smart. You just have to be emotionally intelligent. You gotta be receptive. You gotta take a few dings. You gotta try things out that fail. I mean, this one could have been a colossal failure. Can you imagine if I screwed that up at 25 feet on top of a building? Oh, yeah. I would have been taking the lights out at night. No, so, it's kind of like you get to a point where you just know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, like the circumstances, how it looks, where it is, just everything about it is perfect?
No. Forest Avenue has that turn. Mm-hmm. I like seeing it from an angle.
Yeah.
Bath has one. They're all equally different. A Bath just put one up where you make a turn, where you kind of see it, catch it. Yeah. I love the billboards. That was colossal. Seeing those things, geez, it was like that Oppenheimer movie. Like, wow, I did that. I really wanted more, but I ran out of money. I'm in that New York market, but they'll eat it up. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's great. No.
Well, and a lot of traffic goes by there too, so that's a lot of eyeballs on that for sure.
Thank you for making this. It's been good. But my question is, I found at United Way, you get pins. Are there other places where you can buy things that say hopeful?
Yeah, that is becoming something I'm working on. I've been shy about marketing, creating. I mean, I've had my trunk full of T-shirts, larges, extra larges. Negotiating that. I just find it creepy. I can't do it. And I do try. But just now, I've created this woman who came and she's working with me. We're going to try to set up for foundation work as well as profit. T-shirts, hats, and pins because people want them. And United Way was starting it, but United Way is not a store. And so I will just get started. So I got some work to do. I've got like I said, it's a part-time job turning into a full. I've got to get a website. I got to get a URL, all that stuff. I mean, I don't even know how my phone works. I mean, I don't know what to do. I get somebody to do that. But I can see communities want to be tied together with seeing it on other things. So if somebody has an idea, if somebody wants product, I can help them find something. But can you imagine me running around with a hopeful hat? I'd look so silly. I would kill me. It's just like, and selling pins.
I'm not so sure about that. I think they would sell.
No, somebody else can do it, and some nonprofit can do it. So I give the JPEG out to do something with. It's just a hard business to make $8, $10, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm against it because I'm from Lewiston. I mean, don't believe me, I haven't thought about that. You get my problem.
I have a question. I would love to hear about your football career.
My football
Yeah,
career.
you said you played football. Did you play in college? Where did you go to college? What was your major?
I actually started my football career, began here at Walton High School in the 8th grade. And you know something? I had a tough background as a kid, tough time. I had a lot of anger. I was born with one hand. I had some chip on my shoulder. I found that if I go play ball on Saturday, I could do anything I want. And it was fun. I was really good at it. And I really was. I was an athlete. I was surprised, like everything. Sometimes you find out I could run fast and I loved to hit people hard. And I got a kick out of it. I didn't mind getting beat up a little bit. So then what happens, then I moved from here, from Edward Little, then I go to Brunswick, played football there. And then I went to 4 high schools. My dad got all of a sudden drafted. Boom, boom, boom. And I ended up playing ball in Maryland, which was a bigger league, and I won some trophies there. And then I got recruited to a football conference in West Virginia. And that was like, hey, never seen anything like it in your life. Oh, those guys were crazy. I mean, I was really into it for the girls. This was a whole nother league altogether, man. I was like, God, but it was an education, and they gave me $15 a week, and that paid for liquor and cigarettes. I would say books, but they didn't. It was rather fun. And I met some really interesting characters. And then I told the coach I couldn't. That I had a real commitment to the, it was time for me to fight in the sexual revolution, and I had to get out there and do my part. And I did a good job at that. So yeah, football is fun. Yeah, football is great. And anybody who plays ball knows what I'm talking about. It's a great guys.
Other questions? Oh yeah, the kinds of challenges. I think we sort of wove it in there somehow, but the challenges that you had to deal with in some of these projects, or the people that you had to deal with, and how you overcame them.
Joan has
Yeah.
been good-natured.
Yeah.
Mostly, nobody I've been to has said, I don't want this in my community. I had one event when I went to city council, and the city council was not going to vote for it because he didn't want the same thing in his town. He wanted something different. So that's a thought. I didn't think it was a good one, but it was a thought. But I talked to him about it. And I talked about bridges and threads and weaves and tying us together again. And boy, it worked, So I like it when I can pull that off, make people understand. And once he heard me, he understood, and he was a big advocate. So that's why I have to be careful and not act like an art professor, guy who's seen it all, done it all. I'm not that way anyway, but I don't get defensive about it. I'm gonna put it like that. It doesn't. If you came over and you spit on my painting, I might punch you in the nose. I mean, because that'd be an insult to something. This is a whole different thing we play with together in this game here. This is the field I'm talking about. Can you get the metaphor of walking into the field, getting out of your corner, just walking out there, daring to be in the light? Let's just do that together and listen to each other. Yeah. I got a crazy Uncle George who sets my hair on fire. But he taught me how to play baseball. He did things for me. So Uncle George doesn't throw the potatoes at him anymore. We got to remember there's things there.
Yeah. What's so special about this project is the sign itself. One sign is beautiful, but the collection, the unity of it all is really, it's just magical.
Yeah.
That you've been able to build this and that people recognize it for what it is. So what gives you the greatest hope right now?
My children. Yeah. Because I know this is not their future now. Their future is their own later. You get what I'm saying? This is not it. This is not the end of anything. This is just now. I'm not going to take my children and put them in this future. That's mine. They've got their own. And being a hopeful guy gives me some credit.
Yes, I'm sure it does.
It does, a little bit. They get it. They know me. I'm an old hippie. I haven't liked anything for 60 years. So this is kind of strange for me to be this way. But it's right underneath, it was underneath the surface anyway. Kind of like Dana smiled. My friends know me this way. And they also know that I got to be careful with a hot mic. Because I can also take off on things too. But I'm just human in the middle of being the hopeful guy. And it's awesome. It's just awesome.
Yes, yes it is. Well,
Thank you guys so much for coming out in this weather.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
we're very glad you have a presence in the city. Just really, it's really
Well, you
wonderful.
have my heart too.
Yeah, oh,
So
that's
it's like-
that's delightful. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and
Yes.
thank you everybody for coming out on such a stormy day. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.